Hello and welcome to another Zero event. Thank you very much for everyone for joining. And special thanks to our guest tonight, or today, depending on where you are. Jay, it's morning for you. So thank you to Keith, to Tim, and to Jay for all joining our panel discussion. So we're going to start off with a couple of announcements and some information about some community-related events, and then we're going to get into our panel discussion. And our panelists are all representing 3 different platforms or potential platforms, multi-user XR platforms. And what we're going to be talking about and hearing from them is the challenges of doing that. Identifying that you might have a platform here, or identifying that there's an opportunity for a platform, and then just trying to find a way to grow that. So that's what we're going to talk about in the panel. And then after the panel, Jay will be guiding us through his platform, Ozone Universe. That'll be the platform for this week's Zero event. So he'll take over about 10 to 6 Central European time and introduce it to those of us who won't be able to, maybe to try to get into the platform, depending on your hardware and your situation, but then guiding those who want to go into the platform, guiding them through that experience. So to start, I will also say, we've done a couple of these types of crowdcast panel events in previous Zero events, and we weren't always great at addressing crowd questions, audience questions. Well, I'll commit myself to doing a much better job this time. Particularly some of you, Catherine, I remember, wrote some questions last week, and I ran out of time and did not address them. So we'll do a much better job making sure that we address the audience questions. First, I'd like to just discuss the ongoing XR art festival going on, XR or VR Ham, which is available in the Museum of Other Realities. If you have not tried it, it's quite great. I'm a big fan of the platform, and there's a permanent collection. But then right now, starting I think yesterday, VR Ham started, and they have a whole new collection of artworks that are available there. And actually, normally you have to buy Museum of Other Realities, but if you go to the VR Ham website, you can get free access for the duration of this festival, or for a few days of it. I'm not sure actually how long it is. So there is that. Another announcement for the community, I have shared in the chat previously, a few minutes ago, a link to our Zero Events Discord server. For those of you who are not familiar with Discord, it's another platform, kind of like a Slack, which has some different value propositions, and it's just a better way than our WhatsApp group to hold on to information that we're generating, that we're sharing with each other, and to have more deep, in-depth conversations about particular subjects. So, of course, everyone's still using the WhatsApp as much as you want, but if you want to start taking some of those discussions into an easier to manage dedicated channel for a particular subject, that's what the Discord is for, and some of those have already started, but I just, again, want to make everyone aware that Discord is there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. So, gentlemen, I would first like to invite you one by one to kind of briefly describe what platform you're working with, you're developing, or what you're thinking about in terms of platform, and how did that realization come to be? What was the genesis of this platform, either product or idea? And so I'd like to kind of go in order of my screen, which is Keith, Tim, and Jay. So Keith, if you start, what was, because we saw Rainfall. Rainfall you presented to us a few weeks ago at an earlier Zero event. So you spoke a bit about it at that time, but just kind of, again, what was that genesis? What was the origin of the Rainfall platform?
So we have different projects, we have projects where we have architectural things, we have training, we have different genres. And when we go and present our projects at booths, for example, we notice that there's a slight user experience issue with that. If you put on a VR headset on someone else, they'll go into it and it's like kind of like a black box. You're outside, you're not there with them. and they go into it, they might get confused sometimes, and you are not really sure where they are. So it's just like this miscommunication going on. So what we wanted to do is that we wanted to solve this by creating a multiplayer platform, so we could join in on the projects we're on. But we also wanted to, instead of pressing X and removing one program and opening another to show something else we've done, we then placed all our projects into one platform. So the reason why we did this is just to make it easier to talk with clients and show them virtual reality. But because of Corona, that kind of like stopped all the expos we were going to. But because we had a multiplayer platform, that didn't limit us to have like we could then reach out outside. We don't have to physically be there with another person. So that is how our platform was born.
Okay, thank you. Tim.
Yeah, I mean, in my case, I've always been interested in kind of like collaborative formats, both in for clients that I worked with and where we did VR experiences, and also in the actual working process when we are realizing projects. And already when we did like our first VR experiences, we did some kind of like really, let's say, on location multi-user things where we just had different headsets and connected it through the PCs. And we found that kind of like just it was fun to do, but obviously that is not close at all to the level what's possible today, where you can really go global. So after starting with this and really wanting to follow that idea of being able to connect to others through the internet, we've been kind of like trying to develop and waiting for technology to come to a level where that actually works. And at the same time, in the workflow of my studio, I've been working with people like all over the planet already since quite some time. And at the very beginning, we have been sending hard drives around because the internet was still too slow, in order to do something together. And then obviously with internet getting better and then the software that we are using getting more and more collab functions, we could actually hook up and work together. And those two tendencies, on one side, trying to do like commercial projects or with clients to have meeting rooms, and on the other side, to work collaboratively in our project development. Those two tendencies came together now with webVR, and with those possibilities that really, I mean, I think the technology made a big jump right now. And now we are doing both. We are on one side having commercial projects running where we're building some showrooms for our clients, and we're doing beta testing to see how well you can actually act in a room like that. And on the other side, when we are doing project development, we jump into 3D spaces together with the artists and programmers working on a project to discuss how we can improve them and how it goes better. So that kind of like build, let's say, the platform that we are on right now.
Mm-hmm. All right. And Jay, what was the genesis, the origin of Ozone?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me today. It's good to be here. Calling you guys from Denver, Colorado. As you know, it's morning, so excuse me if I'm a little on the low energy level. The guys are on fire there. No, for us, it started pretty much back in 2015. And the initial question was, why hasn't the internet evolved? So we were really an intranet-focused project, wondering why haven't we rethought the interface in the web. And so we basically just wanted to make it like a video game, make the internet like a video game. And so that's kind of how it all began. And VR actually came a little bit later. I would say more 2016, 17 is when the VR bridge was starting to be made in the web. Mm-hmm. And we're there now.
Okay. Keith, just a question for the crowd. Your audio was a bit low. For some people.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right.
I'll have to talk a bit closer. That's fine.
Before in the green room, we were talking about microphones.
The irony.
Exactly. Turn it down.
Yeah. Okay. So then I want to ask you guys. So how do you find your first users, what are your strategies, and do you have specific use cases that you carry into developing your platform, or are you looking to find first someone who's kind of, who's agreed to use it, maybe, and pay for it or something, use it, adopt it, and then you're trying to satisfy that client's use case, and then hoping that client is a good representation of a viable market for you? And Jay, I pose that to you. How are you searching for those first adopters? Do you have a strategy, or you have a target? How are you doing that?
In our case, because of how unique our platform is as far as its value proposition and the problem we're tackling, we're really doing it on at this stage, it's all, if I may say, in a way, private partnerships with what we call our launch partners. And as we discussed, there may be some things we can do with the XR crowd community as well. So we're not a self-serve platform, right? To reach the level of performance that we're delivering at this moment, there is no way for somebody to come and kind of deploy on their own or build on their own. So it's kind of very private, custom. It's fully custom. It's all custom work, what we do. And so that's kind of our initial approach. Eventually, in due time, we will want to launch an SDK and open up some of our APIs for, make it more accessible to access our engine. But that will be our strategy. So we're starting with right now alpha launch partners, which are basically all custom clients and enterprise clients. And then we want to expand and democratize, if you will, the access from there.
Okay. And can I, Jay, ask, I know the XR crowd will have seen previously the communication about Ozone Universe, but for those, sometimes we have joiners who are coming from outside the community. Could you summarize the value proposition that Ozone is offering?
Yeah, so we're a high performance web-based, plugin free, download free, update free, cross-platform, virtual world in a sense. And as I mentioned, we started with the 3D web. We were not really starting with VR. So VR is really just one additional way to experience our platform. And the problem we're tackling commercially is large concurrencies, large scale events, conferences, exhibits. We have a meetup division that's focused on just meetups, as well as some strategic partners who are really working the angle of commerce, XR commerce. So that's kind of how we're using our engine to begin. Yes. Okay.
All right. And Tim, the question was how, and you guys, I think both you and Keith kind of touched on it, but now how would you look to develop this platform functionality? Or are you going to target a use case, or look to find an early adopter and really satisfy that person first?
I mean, for me personally, it's actually both of those things, because on one side, there is use cases, like workshop spaces, conferences, events, all those things that we also in the crowd here have been seeing and doing excessively the last couple of months. But at the same time, there's a certain degree of use cases you need to develop your own, and that you also need to pitch to clients or to potential partners. Because I think the problem with the new technology is always that people just don't know what to do with it or how to use it. So there's a certain degree of new conceptions you need to do. And one of them for us is in education, for example, that we are looking at right now. And we're talking about the school system in Germany, how you can use VR platforms. And that is not necessarily a huge kind of commercial thing, because the way the school system is here, that it's for free and there's not a lot of money in terms of building content or stuff like that, which is good also because it makes it accessible to the people. And then there's all the teachers and all the kind of states that have all their own kind of laws and legal situations in terms of education. So to build this use case on that kind of scenarios is a real challenge, but I think that is something we are really looking at right now. Yeah.
And Keith?
Yeah, so we've been kind of lucky in the sense that we have had clients where the projects have been very different in the sense of components. Like we have 360 videos, we have architectural clients. So for us, it's been more having a 360 video player available, having interactivity possible. So because of the clients we've had, that has helped us push the system in a way that it works for several different projects. And the way we kind of find clients here is that we already have existing clients and we're talking to people. So now I just invite people inside the platform and we go through the different projects, and that's when they have the ideas of, oh yeah, I mean, we have this project, this would be good to do it. And it's really just about the components. Like the components in the sense that you can talk to people, you can watch 360 videos, you can view things in VR. And the content really comes from the client.
Okay. So in your case, to ask a follow-up, do you foresee the platform functionality that you're offering, again, it's originally coming as like a showcase, portfolio showcase tool, but are you seeing people saying, hey, could we use this platform? Could this platform be, because it's part of our project? And I think of something like a museum, for example, choosing to say, hey, we are clients where we have these individual projects, but the platform is actually really what we need to have that as well. And so are you guys looking at actually selling? Yeah, that's what.
Yes, we are, and we've had two museums that come to us after they've seen the platform, or they heard it from someone else, and so then they said, yeah, we have someone that's created a lot of 360 videos. We'd like to make like a big museum with a lot of 360 videos and fishes everywhere, and the platform can handle it because the components are there. We can show a 360 video, we can add 3D objects, we can make the area look nice as if it's a museum.
Okay. Go ahead, Tim. Sorry, did you?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say that in our case, it's actually also like that. On one side, we are really working with this client, and they're thinking about integrating that as part of their corporate communication. And to do that, of course, is a big step into direction of becoming a platform. But it's also a long process because we all are deeply in VR, but most people are not. That's why what Jay is doing is also so important, using webXR really as one of the standards, because most people are not there yet. They don't even have VR glasses. So yeah, there's definitely interest, but it's also, if you talk to companies, for example, they're thinking maybe about time spans of like 3 years to 5 years or something like that before VR will become a really big topic for them.
So that kind of leads into the question that I was going to ask about which sectors you thought were maybe most ready to be clients for these types of platforms that you're working on. But I might also add a caveat to that. How critical is accessibility for your platforms right now? How big is that, like a concern and a concept that you have to prioritize?
Go ahead.
So we've had, because originally our platform was only VR. But after Corona hit and we've talked to a lot of people that do not have VR headsets, we've been working on creating a PC VR version and eventually creating a mobile VR version. So right now it works with a PC. You don't need a VR headset. And this is something we didn't have in the platform before.
And I mean, in our case, we have been also like on XR, like on the web from the very beginning. So in a way, it's quite accessible with your mobile device, desktop, or VR headset. And but yet, it seems very easy just sending the hyperlink. But what we have been doing lately, we have been just sending hyperlinks to clients and tell them, click on it and see what happens. And we found out what happens is not necessarily what we would like to happen. There's all kinds of problems that you suddenly run in where it doesn't work, from internet connection, VPN connections, browsers wrongly configured, all those topics, which can lead to people being disappointed at the very beginning of entering into a platform. So we have to kind of like always keep that in mind. And the other thing is, the more you go on kind of like cross-device solutions, the less you're going to be in terms of like really being able to do high-end graphics or high-end scripting and all of those things. Like we had a long avatar discussion within the XR crowd, right? That's still going on, and that's a very important discussion because it plays a big role in social VR. And if you like on a mobile platform, the avatars are most likely going to be much less attractive and much less, like in terms of being able to control them than when you're in a VR. And so sometimes maybe it even makes sense to be on a platform that's poorly high-end, like just for VR. If you want to do some like use cases that are there, like the more right now, in a way, the more wouldn't really make sense to experience those pieces in there with a desktop because they're made for VR.
Yeah.
So that's always something I think that you have to consider when you're talking about developing platforms.
Yeah. And Jay, obviously you're webXR, and so accessibility must be a real critical feature. But how are you guys addressing accessibility? Like Tim kind of touched on some of the challenges that even though it's accessible, there's still hurdles to that. So how are you guys approaching that challenge of accessibility and the expectations of accessibility?
Yes, I want to highlight something that just came up in a chat the other day. I had a chat with Miss Smithson from Metaverse, and she's very big about accessibility. And just to be very clear, right? When we mention the word accessibility, it should mean access for people with disabilities, okay? Which is a huge problem in XR, which is not very well addressed. We have some solutions there, but in the concept of inclusion, right? So accessibility means that I think what we mean is ease of access, right? Through browser, through mobile and things, right? So just I wanted to highlight this up because I think as we move along as an industry, we need to be much more inclusive and start building features for a real accessibility, meaning for folks with disabilities. So, and there's a lot of things out there for those of you who may be interested. There is a little segment in that XR collaboration tool that was put out. I think Farhan is very involved with the group and so on. And so very interesting things like, gaze, which is a feature we have, right? So to enable clicks and create events, you can do it with gaze. So you have this little cursor that's enabling folks to click even if they don't have maybe hands or things like that. There is contrasts. An interesting way is the text to speech, right? And speech to text backwards. So folks who cannot hear and talk can actually participate and be involved. So just a little point on accessibility. For us, we began web. We're all web. We're 100% web-based, and VR, in a way, is a feature or a way to access the platform. But what's interesting is in the design part, and this touches on this problem of access. Like back in 2018, when we finished our second round of research and development, our entire design concept was based around mobile first, right? So back then we were in a paradigm where everything must work on mobile and it must be designed for mobile and the user interface must be perfect and great on mobile, right? And so you were optimizing for mobile. What we've decided this year when we're actually launching the product is we're actually designing for VR first. So we are VR first experience. And so what's going to happen is, and hopefully some of the folks will be able to try it in VR, is when you see it on a mobile, like I mentioned, so Nick earlier tried it on, he mentioned he tried it on mobile. Hey Nick, and if you try it on mobile, you will see the arrows and the user interface and so on. And when you do it on desktop, it's so much better, right? Because the screen is so much better and you can access it. But you really, really get into the Ozone Universe once you put on the VR headset. That's where it's designed for. So I think I really believe in user choice and giving the choices to the users, right? Especially in this new digital era that we are ushering, basically. I think it's really important that all of us as content creators, we put the users in the center of our creative design process. And the best thing we can do for users is give them the choice. So I really like what Tim was saying earlier about, yes, there may be some challenges with the browser sometimes. I agree, the setups and so on. But at the same time, how great it is that people can actually do it on any device, And in our case, yeah, you might not get like as great of an experience if you are on the mobile, just because the real estate is so much smaller, But at least you can be there, right? If you're in an event, if you're in a meeting, and you have to go, well, that's fine. You can open it on your phone, and you can still take it with you in your car and be part of that experience, right? So, I think there is these two layers, right, where you want to build for the best use case, but you want to enable the different layers or the different tiers of experience to be inclusive. So that's how we're addressing the accessibility or ease of access.
Okay. And what sectors do you think are most ready for this, for what you're offering? We mentioned education and museums. So yeah, which sectors do you guys think are most ready for what you're working with, what you're offering like this? I'll go with Keith to start off.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Which sectors? Like if we talk about the platform we're building, we would say our main clients would be VR events that have been canceled and want to show the people that were supposed to have booths and show their projects. That would be that seems to be very interesting for the different VR events that are popping up, and also museums, as several have come to us and said we would like to have your platform for that. But if we're talking generally speaking, there's a lot. We're getting a lot of. Everyone's asking about conference. Can you do conference in VR or on PC, on mobile? How can we do it? How can we make it more interesting than just watching a normal Zoom talk? So this seems to be what's really hot right now.
Okay. And Tim, yeah.
Yeah, for us right now, the focus, I think, is really on kind of like workshops. So situations where you're in VR with smaller groups, maybe 5 people or 10 people. And not only in terms of like kind of learning and experimenting with 3D tools to be in a workshop setting, but also even like the methods, like how do you moderate a workshop? How do you organize a workshop? If you're going through it, how you document like basically the outcome of a workshop. And I think that is there's a lot of potential for that for VR platforms, both in the business context. Obviously companies have workshops all the time, but how much better it is when you're in a 3D space where you can create objects and work with objects and see all this content that you have access to. And obviously in education, that is a whole nother thing. Once you can break the walls between classes or schools, or we're living in Europe, there's so many different cultures here. And now what about having some workshops between, Norway and Germany or something like this, or the US for that, So it's that what we're focusing on. And I think where also a lot of things are going to happen, really.
And Jay, which sectors? Oh, sorry, Keith, go ahead.
Before Corona, the companies that were making most money, VR companies in Norway, are companies that have created platforms for building, like visualizing buildings before they're built. This seems to be what the industry is mostly using this for. But after Corona, it's been a lot. Yeah, how can we do a conference? How could we meet normal people? And not, yeah.
No, I like what Keith is saying. There is a before Corona and after Corona use case, right? One thing I've been saying to the team, to our investors, to our clients, that's so important, I think. There is now, right? And to address your question, there is the now moment. And then there is the short term, there's a medium term, and there's a long term, right? And so I think the time factor is very essential to understand and answer this question. Tim talked about some of the friction and the challenges for education to adopt the technology, maybe because of budget, maybe because of government regulation. We talked to some folks who are in the education, exploring the education use case in the Netherlands. our platform is really a great solution for education, because you just order your campus, tell us how many concurrencies you're expecting, how many classrooms you need, you know, who are the teachers and so on, and we'll just get it to you ready to go. But here's the solution, but then the process to get that education or the teacher, the approval, or here in Colorado, also everything goes through the state, right? Unless it's a private education. So there is that whole time of adoption, and there's all that bureaucratic decision making involved, which currently I think, and we had a chat with the educations in VR folks, right? And as active and dynamic as they are, and as great of a momentum they have, you know, and the thousands of teachers they have part of their group, but compared to all the teachers in the world and to all the classrooms in the world and to the hundreds of millions of students out there, this is still a drop in the ocean. And so I think per industry, you can run a similar thought experiment and analysis to kind of put them in a timeline of when the actual readiness, right? Because you have to be willing, able, right? Willing and able at the same time. So right now, I think the situation we're in is a lot of sectors who may be willing, but they're unable, like education and teachers, right? And you have a lot of them who are able, but they may not be willing, right? Like some big companies who may have, you know, huge budgets and so on, but for some reason, at the executive level, they're not able to do a mass adoption. And so I think what we're seeing is a lot of, I think it's all R&D right now, you know, as far as I'm concerned. Even a lot of, you see these companies out there who are, you know, in the conferences, they come in and they're like sharing everything they're doing in the VR and XR space. But if you put it comparing to what they're still doing in the old way, it's still a really small portion. So, you know, I think the challenge for companies like ours and as we go out to market is to find where is the need that cannot be solved outside of using XR, you know? And this is where we decided to go for the large scale conferences, because there is a level where unless you're in a 3D visualization, you just cannot have that experience, you know. And I think Keith is totally right on the money, talking about museums right now, for instance, who are closed, which, by the way, I'm very happy to talk to you back about it, because we're huge about art. You know, we're not expecting to really make money with art. You know, what we want to do is be able to build a huge like art galleries and museums, but without really charging for it, right? Just for the art's sake. But the monetization would come from exactly conferences, events, you know, meetups. And again, you got to remember one thing. There's another issue with this, right? Is the cost of the technology, right? There's a lot of platforms which are free right now, but there's a lot of friction to get in there. There's a lot of hardware requirements. So if you want to host an event for 10,000 people, what do? You know, you can do it on a video call. You know, how do you do it in VR? So I think for us, we made a really cognitive decision to have the folks who really cannot solve their problem without using XR, which is a 3D spatial visualization. And that's for us the large scale conferences, and at a second level, maybe some meetups.
Okay. Well, and Jay, you kind of mentioned, you brought up COVID, which we hadn't really explicitly addressed, but I think it's the elephant always in the room. So you mentioned it before and after, but I want to pose to you guys with the minutes we've got left, some forecasting. So I will admit that I recently pitched to my university's very expensive executive MBA program, you know, hey, maybe there should be some VR component, because you don't have classes right now. You might not have them for a while, and when you do have them, maybe you don't have the same type of students or the same number of students, and maybe they're not looking to pay the same very, very high prices that they were if there are social distancing factors involved. And the feedback was, at least within the decision making here in Istanbul, well, don't worry. By September, everything will be back to normal. classes are going to be exactly the same. We have no need for this. It's great. It's a cool idea. Maybe we could consider doing something new with it sometime in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to go back to the way we've always done it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and contrast that with some of the things I was hearing very much from many people a couple months ago, that there's a new normal. The world will never be the same. And I'm sure, like, it's just there's a distribution of expectations. So no, it's certainly not clear, and no one's saying for certain it's going to go back the way it was, or it's going to be completely different. But some people have these different expectations. With you guys, and you have these platforms, and in some way, it's influenced by this pandemic situation. The value proposition offered has been enhanced. How do you guys foresee your platform in the next couple of years? What is your kind of projection? Your thoughts about it? I'm just curious if you guys have thoughts like that. And so, I mean, whoever wants to go first to jump in there. I don't want to keep putting someone on the spot before maybe they're ready, because this is a more conceptual question. So if anyone's ready to answer, go ahead and let me know.
I can jump into that hole if you want.
Yeah.
I personally think that it's, on one side it's true. I mean, COVID hopefully is going to pass away. At some time, even so, it's still really going. It looks like things are getting loose, but we know there's no vaccination and nothing. You know what I mean? So it's still kind of like a time where you have to be very cautious. And but eventually, we will probably tackle that challenge really as kind of, you can even say, as a global challenge, and that will go away, and people will somewhat return to their, let's say, pre-COVID mode of doing things. Mm-hmm. But just having that experience of working much more online, and I think it doesn't mean necessarily only VR, even doing video conferences and stuff like that is going to change the way people communicate, because there's a lot of, on one side, economic reasons. For companies, there's certainly economic reasons. I mean, not traveling, traveling costs, trade shows are so expensive, space in trade shows, buying the space shop booths, all those things can suddenly be made more economic in a way. And of course, the second big aspect is ecology, the CO2 footprint of a company, jetting out to some meeting, training scenarios where you have really need to get a big train, for example, to work on, and you do that in VR and it gets much easier. So there's a lot of use cases, and I think VR, and especially, social VR, is going to be a big part of that future. And for me personally, I mean, on one side with my studio, I'm certainly going to continue using that in all kinds of ways. And and if things go right, we're also going to be able to really supply that as a service for, for other areas. So yeah, I look at that pretty positive, but I think also it will take some time, to raise awareness. It's actually like Jay said earlier, what's this kind of you have to want it, and you have to be able to do it, and it has to be the right time. All these factors that play into it, and depending on the industry you're talking about and the use case you're talking about, it's a different kind of mixture of those factors. But it's going to be fun to see, because maybe just to sum it up, we also know 5G is coming. And in Germany, for example, I mean, the big kind of the money they're going to pump into digitalization, 5G networks, Internet 4.0, there's so many topics, technological topics that are rolling through our world right now, that social VR is definitely going to be a part of that, So I think for anybody being in it, it's going to be fun.
Thank you. Anyone next to offer? I completely agree with Tim. For us, it's in a sense, it's been good to have this push, this need, because we see we had clients that wanted to have a VR system that was localized, where in just one building, but after seeing that the multiplayer kind of works, they've suddenly realized that but we can have it in different countries, several countries. You don't have to have this is training specifically. You don't have to have an instructor in the same area as the people that are being trained. So that's been very, very good for us in that sense, and especially since we're also focusing on companies that are already working with VR and kind of enabling them to show their projects outside of their region. I even though a lot of people are going to say that it's going to go back, for us, I think it's still going to continue in the right way.
Yeah, I think I totally echo with what Keith and Tim are saying, and Mike, you're totally right. There's two very segmented opinions. It seems it's the case on everything right now, right? Like, which, I mean, it's been kind of a human nature over the last 150 years, right? All the time, I guess. People just take positions, and everybody is entitled to their opinion. It's okay. That's what freedom is all about, right? Everybody can think what they want and can believe whatever they want. But on my side, I've been talking. I really never come up with my own opinions. I just try to synthesize. There's so many much more brighter folks than me and smarter than me. So I learned over the years not to try to come up with my own conclusions, rather just synthesize what a wide array of other folks do, collective intelligence, right? And everything points at saying that the post-COVID world is going to be what is being called like the new normal, right? So the idea that everything will go back exactly as it was before, I don't think so. Are we still going to be able to do everything we were doing before? Yes, right? But the how it's being done will evolve, right? So will all businesses disappear? No. But will businesses adapt and change their workflow? Yes, right? So that's where kind of what Tim highlighted very strongly is this whole remote collaboration mode, right? This distribution of teams, the headquarters, which is a solution we're offering actually, and we're very excited about. We're starting to get some really nice discussions around this virtual headquarters, right? This is something that our platform is wired to do very, very well. And we're very interested to explore kind of what the needs are and requirements are to build for that, right? So for us, I think as a community, part of this opportunity has to do with understanding that the people who have the need don't realize they have the need yet, right? We're really in that situation where you're talking to clients or to enterprise or education folks who don't understand what you're talking about, they just don't, and that's okay. That's not their job to understand what you're talking about. It's our job to make it sensible for them and basically help them try it, right, and test it at a very low risk. And then once they see how great it is, as Tim said, then they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, why would I go back to, to ship to or Keith? Why am I have a trainer? Why am I gonna have one trainer and 10 people travel, right? And spend like $20,000 in just airfare and hotels for 3 days when I can have them spend 3 weeks together for $5,000 or whatever, right? So that's kind of the shift that we're looking for, and that's gonna happen. It's just a matter of time, and it's gonna be a great ride. So look forward, and very exciting times.
So I'll share a quote, and this was in a Financial Times article, and I wish I had the information to properly quote, but it was a Microsoft official being quoted, and I think he wrapped it up very well. That 5 years of digital transformation have occurred in the last 2 months. Effectively, and so many companies just felt that push, that need, and these are things that they hadn't considered. What's interesting is that in many ways, I think, Zoom and Microsoft Teams and some of these other tools, they were familiar with. They just really weren't that excited to make full use of them. But now they did, and now they've gotten over that hump, and now they're there. But VR was probably, immersive or even virtual world experiences like Ozone or like a Revela or something, were not things that were really, on their immediate, in the immediate proximity of the radar. So this was an opportunity where they, instead of looking to adopt them more fully, is looking to explore them for the very first times.
Exactly.
And So it's just interesting to see this digital transformation just pushes ahead, but probably not into the state of widespread adoption. Still looking for these very first large scale uses. And I'm quite curious to see you guys. Jay, you kind of described effectively a corporate campus that doesn't have to be geographically located in any single place. And I think that Facebook's decision to, I think, make remote maybe 50% of their workforce in the next year or two or something was the target. Well, they've got Horizon coming. Mm-hmm. So now my curiosity is, do they have a professional backend of Horizon that they're using? Do they believe in it viably enough to actually utilize it themselves? And HTC made their conference purely virtual in the early days of quarantine and stuff. And so now I think I'm looking for Oculus to do the same. You got to put your money where your mouth is. If you say it's ready, if you got these platforms ready, they have to be the leaders in this. And then once they do it, other corporates maybe will follow behind quickly.
Maybe I can just add to that. On one side, it was really nice what Jay said in terms of like when you're talking about headquarter, it means also corporate identity, right? And that is one big problem. If you get rid of the headquarter with the people being in one space, you kind of dissolve the corporate identity. So you need also a digital version of that. Mm-hmm. And like in terms of Oculus, I think they brought out already the Oculus Pro business, like the Quest, the business version of the Quest, and that comes together with the whole business world, where they're addressing that whole kind of like business idea and being able to cater towards that. But maybe at the end, I wanted to also mention one point that is really important, I think, in terms of VR and where the future is going to go. Like the fundamental revolution that we are going through, I think, is really towards a 3D space. And that 3D space is both in terms of like the experience of being in a 3D space, the audio experience in a 3D space, moving around in a 3D space. And a lot of the people that are older, or I could say my age, or older than me even, are 2D based. They're coming out of a 2D world. Architects, for example, they're used to working with a 2D plan. Like younger artists may be working out directly in a 3D modeling software in a 3D space. Mm-hmm. So we're moving away from the world of 2D representation into the world of 3D representation. And that's why VR makes so much sense. And not only VR, also augmented reality. In the end, it's an expression of 3D production. And 3D printing, it's the same. It's an expression of like a 3D environment being printed out. So that is a fundamental change, and that without a VR, you can't access that world and experience it directly. That's why I think it's going to certainly stay around, but it takes time before old habits kind of dissolve and new ones build.
It's quite generational.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm thinking also I'm thinking post-corona. At least one of a bit of my concerns is what's going to happen to people that are going to try VR, but it's not their own VR equipment. Do they feel that is it safe enough, hygiene-wise? Like how is that going to shift VR businesses? Like I'm thinking, or what I'm seeing right now is a lot of people are buying their own VR headset and they're using it, and this is how this is going right now. But VR arcades, for example, they're dying because of Corona. And what are we going to do with schools? I know that there's something called Clean Box that's out there, and it's going to seem like the whole VR industry is just going to be so much better at keeping hygiene because of something like that. Because we all know that this is not like even at VR events, not everyone had bacterial wipes or trying to clean the VR headset. So this is definitely going to change a lot. But I don't know if it's going to hurt us or if it's going to help us in the end.
If I can plug my own university lab, they hosted a discussion on this topic as well. Because actually Turkey, somewhat unfortunately, had actually finally seen a lot of investment in VR arcades in, I would say, the 6 to 10 months, 12 months before the pandemic really broke out. We've been kind of slow because it's not something that the local market, with the currency being what it is, could really sustain. But as a big travel destination, it made sense to, you could price that, you put it in the right places, you could really do quite well with that business. And that business was starting to take off. There might have been 20 last time I checked, and only 2 or 3 effectively 3 years ago. And the question is, what is their business model looking like? We have a lot of gaming cafes. That whole business model, is even maybe more harshly affected. What the outcomes of my lab, the Karma Labs, kind of focus group and research said is that it almost didn't matter if CleanBox, which we were looking at, doesn't matter if CleanBox can kill most of these viruses or all of these viruses, because you have to make sure that there's this perception and within the users, and that alcohol wipe had a stronger sense of perception because you could see it.
Mm-hmm.
So the result was not one solution was going to really solve the problem, because the problem wasn't just sanitation. It was the perception and confidence of that sanitation. Mm-hmm. And, the UV just isn't visualized by the user in a way that they, So it's interesting, like there's these different aspects to it. There's the proper technical one, and then the user experience one, and a little, maybe you have to do the little show and dance, which is expensive. You've got to have someone do that show and dance, because just putting it in the box isn't enough, for the user right now. Who knows? But that's another topic. So we'll actually have to wrap it up here so that Jay can get into preparing the demo of Ozone Universe.
I would like to do a quick plug, because this last point is pretty interesting, right? And I want to tie what Tim said and what Keith brought up, right? Because Tim was talking about the 2D versus 3D paradigm, right? And how hard it is to make a transition for certain folks there. Mm-hmm. And I think this issue of hardware sanitation, right? And location-based VR is the key word. So I had a chat with Bob Cooney not too long ago, who is probably the world expert in location-based VR. And the memo is the business is done, right? Location-based VR is pretty much done. They're not going to recoup from this. But what I think the way we're thinking about this right now is in another paradigm, right? We are thinking in the now paradigm, okay? Mm-hmm. And what I want to say is very loud and clear, guys, is that in about 2 to maybe 5 years, okay, everybody is going to have their headset. You see, right now, this problem is only thought about because people have to swap headsets, but you don't think about sanitizing your phone. So just for those who are not quite sure yet, just to bring the news up to everybody, right? So in about 2 to 5 years, most likely, and this is not me saying this, right? This is like, that Mark Zuckerberg and other very, very smart folks. So
if Jay, I can say, they've been saying it for the last several years.
Well,
so, I mean, I'm with you on maybe the 5-year range. But I will say that this has been a discussion. This has been a projection for many years. That exponential growth, and we're definitely getting closer to it.
It's coming. Look, untethered device, Quest was the first one, right? When did Quest come out? A couple of years ago. So there's requirements.
1 year ago.
Yeah, 1 year.
There are requirements, right? For that to happen, to hit that critical mass, there is requirements. And the first requirement was to be untethered. So Quest did it a year ago. Just this last week, I was sent there's 3 or 4 new devices coming. And every time somebody sends me, I say, okay, let the hardware wars begin, right? So that's gonna really, I mean, right now you have the new HP device at $500, meaning that Quest in a year will be $200. And so with this next generation, like phones, right now you go anywhere in the third world, people are running 9th to 10th generation phones, right? Maybe us, we're running 11, 12 generation phone, the XR and whatnot. And so the same thing might happen with the VR headsets, and that's really going to drive the adoption.
I would maybe add to that also, augmented reality glasses are going to add to that, because there's going to be mixed reality solutions where you can have a VR experience, or somewhat. Obviously, there's a fundamental difference between being inside of a 3D space and having augmented reality glasses. But things like Google Glasses, where you maybe can jump directly into into a VR experience because it's cross media, that's going to make it for people much easier. And Apple, I mean, I don't know if Apple will ever come out with that, but they're talking about it since a long time, about their augmented reality glasses. And once they do, it's like Jay just said, that you carry it around with yourself, you know, which makes it much more accessible. There's no hygiene issues and all of that. So.
Yeah. On that point, I think it will be interesting if, you know, VR headsets are simpler than AR headsets. VR experiences, thus, from a user perspective, are more developed, or just more, there's more to them. It'll be interesting to see whether or not the multi-purpose headset, which obviously the Quest and the Rift S and the Cosmos, things like that, they're forebearers for that. They are AR capable devices, mixed reality capable devices now. If by the time a standalone high performance AR glass comes out, if there really isn't so much a demand or need for it, because you have these more comfortable multi-use headsets that are already providing AR capabilities and had been for a while, and also giving you the more developed VR experiences at the same time. It'll be interesting because I think there's, you know, the convergence of these platforms. The video see-through AR, I think it was shared by, was it Robert Scoble, I think is his name, the guy on LinkedIn. He shared Apple's patent, which was for, you know, an augmented glass, actually for vision, for sight, as well as for other purposes. You know, and you look at that, you read that patent, and you say, that's amazing. Well, what's the time horizon for that? For something of that, you know, by the time those AR glasses get there, will people have already gotten used to multi-purpose, you know, wearables? And, you know, so it'd just be interesting to see if that will still be so in demand, if by that time people are more comfortable. If Jay's forecast of adoption is accurate, maybe that will come before those AR glasses really come.
I mean, I think there's going to be a big demand for augmented reality glasses as well, because besides that, you can maybe jump into VR experiences with it and have MR experience. It's a completely different use case to have augmented reality and to have small devices that you can wear around. Probably nobody would walk around with their Quest or their Oculus Go on the street, even if they have cameras to look around. But a lot of people are going to be walking around with their augmented reality glasses. Maybe
well, I mean, I think so. The 5G is the question of both. It's the answer to when 5G comes out is when we start talking about whether there's real AR glasses rather than just I can see my phone screen on my glass. You know, whether I have a smart data glass versus an AR glass, and whether or not these VR or these multi-purpose, you know, immersive headsets, what size, how big are they? You know, do they have to be that big? If there's, you know, so I guess it's just curious. None of it's written in stone. I think is the final word on that. So let's thank you all, Keith, Tim, and Jay, for your insights and for participating in our panel this time. I hope we see you at, again, future Zero events, and we can have more discussions. And to be honest, this discussion can continue on later on in Ozone. Jay is going to take us into Ozone, and hopefully many of us will be able to go over there. So let me go ahead and thank you again, Keith and Tim. I'm going to put you back into the audience.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
And very nice to meet you guys.
It was great meeting you, Jay.
So as far as instruction-wise go, I'll put the link in the chat and give a few minutes for those who may have or may have not registered. Oh, it's just you and me now. Hi. Okay. Did we lose everybody?
So so that you can walk through, everybody walk through.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So so it's about going there, and the scene we're gonna get into, if I may just start sharing my screen to share with everybody, is called the Launchpad. Right. So just come up here, refresh. We were working very hard to deploy a new build, but last minute just instructed the team to hold off. So this is basically the Launchpad, right? So ozoneuniverse.com.
Okay.
And once you log in here, you can do a couple of things. The first one is just to get acquainted with the user interface. Is you can navigate using the WASD keyboard or using what we call the teleport, right? So you just click on the floor and you can teleport yourself like so. It may take a little getting used to, because design-wise, the teleport is really kind of the VR. You know, in VR, it's a no-brainer, but in the desktop, you have to place it, then click on it. So that's another way to navigate. And then you can choose your avatars. This is our original like avatar collection that we start with. And there's also a so I'll wait for a few folks to come in, I guess. Let me step back. Okay. Yeah, one thing I want a couple of tips, guys. If you have a bunch of browser tabs open, like a lot of us do usually, I would definitely close them out. You know, if you have many applications, if you have your Photoshops and stuff running, definitely don't have those running. Nick, you say you're in. Here we go. Here's Nick. Perfect. So the first connection being made, which is Nick. Hi, Nick. And regarding the user interface, so you have the first user coming in. And regarding the user interface, there's two buttons here on the bottom left and the bottom right. One thing we're very much interested in is a community feedback on UI UX, and I really hope that with the XR crowd, we can engage in a very nice kind of iteration model where we can take the community feedback and we will implement. This is one of the important things about our company is we are a community-based company first. We're a group of basically friends and engineers and 3D artists who have been creating together, and we want to expand that creation paradigm or collaboration to more folks, right? So Michael jumping in now. I'm assuming most folks have not registered prior, but here, guys, what would be interesting to try with Mike and Nick is the communication. So if you look at my screen here, there is the communication button right here. So by clicking this button here, you will get asked permission to connect your audio and video. And here we go. Michael is here. Hey, Michael. Can you see me as well? Okay, great. Let me mute myself. We're getting some feedback from Michael. Let me mute myself. Here we go.
It might be on your side. Could I have the microphone turned off? Oh, no.
Yes. No, I'm muting because of the broadcast open as well. So here we are. For Cecilia. So we'll wait for a few more folks to come in. But this is what we call the launch pad. So the structure of this scene is based on a for large scale event. This is kind of a demo, early demo, a public demo, where then from here we customize based on the requirements of the clients and the needs. So some folks, for their use cases, just go directly to their campus, which can be any of these. And then there is the business center right here. And then we have different auditoriums and meetup rooms which are available. And so Michael is right now having our mascot avatar, which is the Ozzy, right? So that's our little character. Hey, Michael. You can see him.
Yeah, I have my microphone off. Just I'm worried about getting the feedback because I have Crowdcast and I have Ozone, so the two together. But if there's no feedback now, I guess I can talk. I guess it seems okay to me. All right. Yeah, Jay. So for example, in addition to the demo, what are your thoughts on avatars? If you're going for mass, large scale events, how important is the avatar selection, since you're talking about, and you have a lineup here?
Yeah, so it's really important, and all the way till a couple of weeks ago, we only had OZ as an avatar, right? As we were solving a lot of the engineering problems, the rendering, engine optimization, the networking to have the crispy audio and video stream. We just had a placeholder avatar, but our roadmap we spent a lot of time thinking about avatars, and I think the future will really be photorealistic avatars, where there's already solutions we've identified, we have in the pipeline with take a selfie and get your avatar generated.
Okay, actually, real quick, Nick, is Nick signed in? He was asking if we could see him. I think so. I'm not sure if everyone remembered how to turn on their video in Ozone through the icon on the right side. Could you maybe show that icon?
This quite here, can't see her here, and need to press as well. So okay, that's fine. So let's do one thing, guys. Here's what we're gonna do. Let's all go into this scene right here called the city center. Okay. Actually, you know what? Let's do a better one. Let's go to the meetup room. Let's go to the meetup room. Okay. Let's go to the meetup room that says meetup 50.
Which one?
The meetup 50. I think Cecilia is right in front of it.
Okay, I see. Yeah, it's behind Cecilia up on the top.
Yes, okay. Right behind Cecilia. And I'll wait for you guys to make the connection there, and I'll join you right in there.
Okay, and we just click on it with the mouse, or with
yeah, you can just click on it. If you're in VR, you can. I'm assuming most of us are in desktop currently.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, I am too.
So we have Jay, we have Tim, and we have Cecilia.
And if anybody has any issues, just try to refresh your page, and that should bring you right back in. So in the case of Nick, you can maybe try to just refresh one time.
Is Keith in here? Looks like maybe Keith was in here at some point, according to the chat. Or no, maybe. Yeah, okay. All right.
It was blank. Okay, works now. Keith is working. Catherine, Cecilia. Okay, that's fine. No Nick. Cat, Nick. Yeah, so here we go. Nick, you're back. Cool. Nick, you're back. And here we go. Good. So let's go to the meetup room 50 right behind here, which is meetup room 50. And Cecilia, you can see you too.
I'm in that room. So
yeah, you are there already. Tim should be with you. Nick, I think, is coming in. He's going to join you. Good. So Cecilia, there you go. Cecilia is moving great. So Cecilia, right behind you. Yeah, keep going. Almost there. So it takes a little bit of it's kind of a game paradigm, right? So you have the WASD, and you actually have two fingers on the mouse, and you click and drag to rotate. And back to what Tim was mentioning earlier, some folks were really noticing are not used to that paradigm, especially when you get a little bit of certain segments of society, not to say certain ages or industries or whatever, but definitely folks who have had like a gaming interface and experience So like the difference is noticeable, right? We've had like guys come in, they don't want to hear anything. They just go, they start playing with it, and in 5 minutes, not even in 2 minutes, they figured it all out. So Cecilia, what you do is you look behind you, and there is a button that says Meetup Room here in the menu selection, and you just click where it says 50, Meetup Room 50.
I think I'm in the room here. I'm in the auditorium or that meetup room.
So you're in there. You're with me. Yeah.
Desert environment.
Yeah. So you and me, we are talking. I'm hearing you through. I'm hearing you through the podcast, so the broadcast now, right?
Yeah.
So what you can do is connect with Nick in that room. But I really want to help Cecilia get there if she can. Let me see if Cecilia. Cecilia,
Cecilia, you need to.
Higher? Yeah.
Yeah, you need to click the left mouse button.
There you go.
And
yeah, just click and join.
You can turn your camera around.
There you go. Yeah, just keep doing that. You're doing good. You're doing great there. And just turn a little bit more to the right. So 2 fingers on the mouse, or if you have a hand tracking mouse, you click and drag. But while Cecilia is figuring out, and I'm sharing my screen, I want to show you guys a scene that's not connected right now here, which has to do with our marketplace, right? And this is something we're really much looking forward for. Our job is the engineering, and so what we're really keen to do is build collaborations and partnership with folks who can champion a certain product vertical. And this talks to the e-commerce and mall concept. And so what this is really is a ready to deploy virtual marketplace, which is multiplayer and networked. And all the products, all the different stores, which is part of our R&D last year, are built from a database. So we can take an existing database from an e-commerce retailer and turn that into a 3D XR networked marketplace. And we really think there is a really great need for that now, especially with all the malls being closed and all the problems happening, especially right here in the US with the, social unrest and everything else. So
benefit from spatial presentation.
Yeah, because the real malls, as you mentioned earlier, the real malls and real stores will be probably not as, the experience won't be the same.
Okay.
And so we think it's a really good opportunity to maintain your brand presence, your client engagement, and even jobs, right? Because now you can have your clerks, your store attendees log in as avatars and interact with folks using our networked audio video system. So Cecilia is still here. Cecilia,
is it possible to give her, can she, so for example, I'm in a URL that's ozoneuniverse.com/meetingroom5. Is it possible that she could go directly with the URL?
If she's logged in, yeah, go ahead and send her that. For these, yeah, because they're public.
Okay. Might be.
I think.
I'll put that in the chat just now. So that if you're already logged in, and I think Cecilia must be logged in since she's been moving around.
Yeah. Let me refresh. So there she is. Yeah. Okay, here she is. So we are right here. This is a conference room, and we have a bunch of fixes still in the pipeline right now. This month, really, the goal is to do a stress testing of the platform, and so there's a lot of optimizations to be had to handle high concurrencies, but one of which is actually bringing the people in. So right now, for instance, we can all try to connect to the video stream, right? By clicking
mine was up. Maybe it's not.
This icon. And Cecilia is with us. Is Nick in the room with us too? Here's Nick. Okay, Nick is back. great. So Nick, you can join in by using the.
I see Nick now. I see his video.
There you go.
Yeah. So I see Nick's video and I see yours, Jay.
Okay.
But you might, Nick, have to turn off your microphone in the Ozone.
Yeah.
And just keep it on in the crowdcast.
Okay. So I see you. Now, is Cecilia connected as well? Can you see Cecilia?
I see her, but I don't see a video for her.
A video, right? But you see Nick's video?
I see Nick's video. Which is interesting, actually, Jay. We were talking about that. I haven't seen this before, where there's an avatar and then the live video, and it's curious. I could see how that would be quite beneficial. Maybe at a smaller size would be my suggestion. But it's interesting. You both have the sense of spatial location of that other person, but then you do have the video.
The real person. Yeah. That is an option. I want to ask Nick. Can Nick see my video as well?
But hold on one second. Maybe one of us still has some microphones, multiple microphones on. Let me check.
The interiors. How hard is that? So, yeah. Question. Catherine, how do people customize the interior? So the customization right now is all custom work, really. So you provide us your requirements, whether it's your campus or the room, right? It depends of your needs, and then we deploy it for you. As well as we are asset agnostic. So as I'm leaving Nick, Michael, and Cecilia here, I'll give the audience a very quick tour, and I'll be right back with you guys so they can see a little bit of the rest of the rooms. Okay. This is actually part of the current bug that we just fixed, that we're not able to get ready for today, unfortunately. But the whole concept of campus, let me see. This is the main campus. This is kind of the demo campus, which will be kind of the standard size campus we're rolling out.
Yeah, and how big is that? Is that standard size campus?
Yeah, so this is 250 meters. And I'll show you another one, which is much more advanced, is the one that I've invited you in a couple of times before, Michael, which is a much higher performing campus. It's 1 square kilometer, so 1,000 by 1,000. But this is Quest ready. So this campus is Quest ready, because we realize Quest has also its limitation because it's becoming the #1 platform. A lot of our partners, it's a requirement for a lot of our clients, especially in enterprise. So we did our benchmarking, and we're going with this kind of size. Note that the avatar collection is just temporary here. The avatar menu will actually be with you persistently, part of the persistent menu here. So you'll be able to change avatars and access them anywhere. And also, we've been exploring with the ability to just kind of get up and explore different levels, you know? So you can actually literally get into a multiple level building, you know, and more kind of like a real life. So as an office or even as a store, you can have the different staircases taking you up into the up level, you know. And so one thing for us that's really important is we are content agnostic. So we really want to help as many use cases as possible. But to answer Catherine's question, it is a case-by-case support. Now here's the benchmark where we actually kind of set up the level of performance on our render. and you can get an idea of how big this place is. And even on my computer, I feel it starts to run a little bit, slower. Mini computers, or especially in mobile or the Quest, when you get Quest in here, it will load it, and in a couple of minutes it will actually crash it. Just because it's kind of a mobile type interface. But this is a huge campus, right? We have 1,000 meter by 1,000 meter, almost like city, and we have about 15 animated avatars who are walking, like non-playing characters, like so.
Mm-hmm. Well, can I? There's a couple questions here. So maybe you already saw it. Catherine was asking about the significance of the campus for Quest versus not for Quest, and that was just about size, right? That was just about the not overwhelming the rendering demands on the Quest.
Yes, exactly. So the limitation for VR to become exclusively web-based, right? So is internet speed and graphics computing on the hardware device, right? We can build anything, right? We can put a AAA scene with our loader, but it will only run on very high performing devices and super fast internet. What we have been trying to do is to make it still, for now, accessible globally. So you can access this on a mobile device in wherever, Tanzania, wherever you are, as long as we're putting a requirement out there that you must have at least a 9th generation. Let me show you guys here. 9th generation phone with 20 megabytes per second internet, right?
So can someone with a phone join Ozone Universe? That's what you mean? Like, are they going to be represented in this space?
It's a full experience. It's a 100% full experience.
Okay.
Let me go back to, but what's going to happen is if you come into this particular scene, it probably will not sustain it. I have a Note 10 Plus, and the Quest, because the Quest runs a modified version of Android. So an interesting thing, if you log on with Quest, you will see the arrows, which are part of the mobile user interface. Let me show you guys what I mean. So that's why we scaled it down. So we did all our R&D, benchmarking, optimization in this campus for months, actually. And we wanted to understand what's the limit. How far can we push it? So as we're going out to market and our clients start coming and they have their requirements, we know what the limitations are, right? And we can guide them to a great experience design. And I'll invite you all to come back and check out the platform. Actually, what I was thinking is we could maybe build a XR crowd campus, and make it available for the community to hang out and just have fun in and, have meetings with clients or whatever you need to do. But this is kind of the mobile requirements, So we'll put, you turn it sideways and you get these arrows, right? So you can navigate kind of like with your gamepad. And then you can also put it in a Google cardboard type holder and it's VR ready. But we do not recommend it, we do not recommend it. In the Quest and on desktop VR, there is this thing called the flag. So what you do is you open your browser and you go to Chrome and you start getting these little extensions, which are kind of your browser setup stuff, and you just put the word flags here, okay? And you put in flags, you come in the flags and you put XR. And there's a really great news. This is the 83.0 version of Chrome, which is the latest version. And so what's happened is, if you notice our instructions here, say, if you get the VR not detected, like mine says here, but mine says it because it's not plugged in. I have not plugged in my HTC. But you have to turn on these flags, right? Runtime, webXR API, webXR sandboxing. And what you notice is here, all that's been taken away. So what they've done is they've included all the XR requirements by default. So all you would have to do now is come here and put the, I think it's OpenXR, you know, and then you can enable experimental features and you relaunch your browser. And then
So that's probably a direct response to so much more webXR activity in the last
yes,
couple months. Yeah,
absolutely. And in the Quest too, when you go in the Quest, so remember, this is standard. I'm talking standalone Quest. If you plug in your Quest with your desktop, you're going to be using your desktop browser. So you do this setup. But the Quest has its own browser and not the Mozilla, right? You must use a Chromium-based browser for the full experience. You know, the Safari and the Mozilla Firefox, they're great, you know, but they're not there. They're not really on top of the latest and greatest of webXR stuff, unfortunately, based on our testing. And even when they are, well, Safari is not, but even Mozilla, the performance, and I love Mozilla, don't take me wrong. Love Mozilla, I love the guys there. We're part of the same tech community, following and building the standards of 3D web. But yeah, the performance, you should use Chrome. So Quest has a built-in Quest browser, which is built on Chromium, and you follow the same thing on the flags. And just a month ago, there were 15 flags. When you typed XR on your Quest browser, you had 15 of the drop-down menu. Now there's like 2 or 3. I'll show you guys when I talk about the standards. So this is our login page. So when you come into the login page, you come to this, right? And this is some of the technology standards we use and some of the tools that we're built upon. So we're very much about the community. We're very much about using open standards and basically leveraging, you know, open technologies to deploy solution at scale. But here you can update the latest Chrome browser, right? So if you click up here, you make sure you're on the latest, right? And then somewhere here, it shows you how to upload or download. But anyways, you just upload your browser. There's a link somewhere here. And here it shows you a little about the system requirements, you know. So if you click on here, it will show you what we recommend as far as system requirements, but pretty straightforward. You know, so we recommend, if you have 50 meg, if you have a nice PC or and a nice setup with a good internet, you're gonna be really in a good shape. Really great for experience. And please, Mike, if there's any more questions coming in, please let me know because I'm unable to look at them all.
No, I think yeah, I think there are the questions. There aren't any new questions. Keith had a problem. He didn't have the email confirmation come, so he didn't get the password to be able to join Ozone. And otherwise, let's see.
Okay. So can confirm the email that it's correct. Check your spam. You know, that's another standard thing that could happen. This is a meetup room. So Cornscram is one of our partners out of London. That is the oldest running blockchain meetup in the UK. And so what we're deploying for them is a meetup room. So I think for XR crowd, just because how big the group is, maybe a campus might be more appropriate. But for a smaller meetup group, though it's not our focus, right? It's not our commercial focus, but we're very much keen to have the community. So we can set up a meetup room. Actually,
yeah, I mean, I think there's interest in that. I know we have. I mean, I think all these different platforms, Ozone or Rec Room, or you know, these different platforms kind of have their orientation, their use case, their focus.
Mhm.
And I think it would be good that we all, in most of them, have a kind of dedicated space for our community, where you just kind of know you're likely to meet people that you know that you have known before, that you participated in other events, or you met at conferences, or you've been on the panel with. So I mean, yeah, it would be great if we had one there. I think there's interest in that.
Awesome. Oh, super excited to collaborate. And for us, you know, one of the things we're really interested in now, you know, we call stress testing. So, and again, right now we're still doing a lot of improvements under the hood. Just last night, we have a whole new build actually that is not deployed yet, which would be cool to show you guys, but I will save it for the next time. But we've implemented a streaming room. So we can go to a room and watch as a multiplayer experience, right? Are you still logged in, Michael? What room are you in now? What room are
I
you
came back to the launch pad.
Okay.
I was wandering around some other rooms.
Yeah. So let me refresh the launch pad one time. And I just want to say one thing, just to put it out there. Everything you see is based on it's all JavaScript based. So we just built it all, and we're getting at that last moment where we're trying to fix a couple more concurrency bugs where you know, we're working on scaling the network. As you could see, we could be there 2, 3, 4 of us, but one thing we're really looking to do is segregate, create different sockets basically for different rooms where users can be totally perfectly connected every single time, scale. So right now there may be some like little issues as we are interconnecting between rooms.
You know, it would be nice, yeah. I mean, coming back again to having kind of a shared space, that might be a real great way for you to let people come in. You know, you have these open spaces here for demonstration stuff, but yeah, if maybe some of your early partners would be just a dedicated room that you know, and so if, for example, let's say we had an XR Crowd room, is it possible that we could have a group affiliation with our accounts? You know, right now I have my own account, but it might be nice to have some type of group affiliation with my account, which would give me access to rooms, which I guess is, you know, how a campus or something like that would work.
Totally. Absolutely. No, that's what the concept of the campus is. And actually, if you guys can join me back, let's try to have you all, those of you who are connected, maybe join me back to where it says big campus, where it says the GPU computer, right?
Okay.
On the launchpad.
Launchpad.
Yeah, and the URL should be main campus. Let me copy paste it in the chat. We can actually finish on a good note here. So hopefully you guys' connection happens smoothly. Here's the good news. Right? So we've been working on this engine for about 4 years and so, since basically 2015, 2016. And again, we started just wanting to build a new interface for the web. And as you can see, it is here. VR is one way to enjoy it. The good news now is all the bugs and all the issues that we can see, we are aware of them. We know where the problems are. We know what to do to fix them. And actually, most of them, they've already been fixed. They're just not in this app. So I can see you, Michael, I think. Is that you, Michael, I think, coming in?
Yeah, I guess that's
yeah, and we implement a lot of features. Like if we enter the stream, you and me now, I can show to you the screen share feature, where, you know, we think screen share is very important to be able to do a good experience. Hey, Michael. So since I'm sharing my screen, maybe it's best you share the screen. So if you look at that menu where you connected, that little red icon with the screen share, try that. Here we are.
Yeah, Jay, that audio might be on your side. Maybe you have
Yes.
your microphone open.
Yes, that's another thing that's already been fixed in the stream. So, oops. Yes. Okay. Still showing its screen, so that's great. That was a great test. So now you can put anything on your screen, Michael. Here you go. So we see my full screen. So that's kind of interesting, right? So I can come up here and look at what he's showing me. But also, of course, it can be projected on a big screen. I think for our community, right, which is the XR crowd, we always talk about sometimes how hard it is to explain to people what the experience can be. And so now, maybe by having an XR crowd campus that's always on, folks can meet up, we can have a board where we post information. And you guys can be a great use case for us. And I know usually there's only a few people connecting on these tours, but maybe by having a persistent campus, we can have more people come in, and it's going to be a great feedback stress test for us. Hey, Nick.
Yeah. Oh, there's Nick. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Nick,
I mean,
you can
arrange stress
How about
tests.
you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi. So I think we just
Nice. Now you can hear me too.
yes, finally. No,
Yeah,
the
I had
good news, guys, is we've done some tests with our Japan team just last week, and we found out exactly what's going on. And
yeah. I mean, I
we're-
wish we could talk more about the remote nature of your team structure. You know, that was maybe I should have asked more questions about like how practically you do development as well. And this time I could have asked Keith that same question. But yeah, I mean, what we can do is we can try to arrange with some notice a stress testing day or a couple of them, you know, and that might be something we can even just announce through the broader group, not just within our WhatsApp groups, but more broadly as well, when you feel ready to do that.
yeah, so technically, just to explain to you guys a little bit of the stuff going on under the hood, right? And I see Nick put on his nice red dress. Here you go, I put my red dress too. It's so funny, every time I'm with guys here, we end up having the girl's avatar. It's really funny. I don't know why, but it always happens. So you can use the shortcut, the number 1 to 9 on the top keyboard is a shortcut for different avatars.
I clicked on 3.
There you go. But that's just temporary while the menu is going to be part of the. Also, you have the audio here, the ambient audio on the settings icon, the little left icon here, to put a little bit of music, birds and stuff. No, but the way we have done our work over the last 4 years was mostly R&D. Okay, we stopped our R&D back in March of last year, and in the month of October we got our angel partner in London, and we incorporated in the summer in the UK. We are a UK company to deploy a commercial solution, and our focus was the marketplace, like I was showing you guys a little bit earlier. Then COVID came in, right? And we thought, here we go. Thank you. It's an event here by Nick showing to everyone. The COVID made us think, oh my gosh, you know, we can really use our solution to enable presence and collaboration in this new era. And what we're about to do, and I'm very happy to report that this is kind of a technical thing, but there is this concept called micro front end. architecture, which is a whole new architecture system, which we've been working on for the past basically 2 months. And what it enables us to do is when we're going to deploy the XR Crowd campus, right? It will be only the XR Crowd campus with the elements needed from our engine. So our engine is huge, right? We have dozens of scenes in it. We have dozens of components. We have physics. We have all kinds of different things there, which may not be needed for everybody. So it's kind of an ingredients list. And now we can package the app for the requirements of the client. So if a client wants one scene, just this one campus, and that's it, then that will be the URL, xrcrowd.ozoneuniverse.com, and boom, right? And that's all there will be in there. There will be this campus with audio, video, and that's it, If another client wants a full-blown conference center, like to organize this events, right, that Nick is sharing with us on this screen share, the campus party. So if the campus party wants a persistent place online, they say, we want a headquarters, we want this building to be HR, we want that building to be procurement, we want this building to be executive and sales here. And then each building should be able to take us to a special office where 50 people can connect, and they only want them to have audio and screen share, right? We don't want them to show the video. Then we can customize that for that client, you see? And there's a huge technical benefit to that, because right now, when you're inside this Ozone Universe application, it's just the whole thing, right? Everything is interconnected.
Yeah.
Which we're going to get a lot of performance improvement. So a lot of people come, they say how great and how smooth the whole Ozone Universe runs. But by the time we deploy each user, their application is going to be probably twice as fast, which is pretty exciting.
All right. Well, Jay, I think we're running close to the end of our...
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, let me jump back here. I'll stop sharing my screen now. Thank you, Nick, for participating in this group chat and coming in. Let me stop sharing my screen, which I should be able to do.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Yeah, so I want to thank you, Jay, for walking us through your platform and kind of even going behind the scenes and really getting into the details of how it works and where it's going, what you guys are planning to do. I definitely want to thank again Tim and Keith for participating in the panel earlier, along with you, Jay, and sharing a lot of insights about what many teams are doing right now. I think we talked about this, this renewed maybe urgency to have these type of multi-user immersive platforms, either web or purely VR based. And there must be many teams out there right now pursuing what you guys have been pursuing before, before this pandemic situation made it so apparent that this was the time to do these things. So thank you again for everyone who joined us, everyone in the audience, everyone who shared questions and then participated in the platform demo. So next Friday, we have another Zero event, which I hope to see some of you at. We'll be looking at Sansar, and we'll be having another discussion to be announced later on, early next week. So thank you, everyone, again, and I hope to see you at the next Zero event. All right, have a good night.